Du-du-du. Welcome Year 6, it's me, Y. Today's task is from our class reader. This is your mission, not impossible. Listen very carefully. I'm going to read a chapter from Point Blanc. I want you to note down the features of this boarding school set in the mountains. And from your notes, then you are required to draw a detailed drawing and write a brief description of the boarding school. I hope this task is clear to you. Listen very carefully. Have your paper and pencil ready at hand to make notes. Chapter 9. My name is Grief. The academy at Point Blanc had been built by a lunatic. For a time it had been used as an asylum. Alex remembered what Alan Blunt had told him as the helicopter began its final descent, the red and white helipad looming up to receive it. The photograph in the brochure had been artfully taken. Now he could see the building for himself. He could only describe it as crazy. There was a jumble of towers and battlements, green sloping roofs and windows of every shape and size. Nothing fitted together properly. The overall design should have been simple enough, a circular central area with two wings. But one wing was longer than the other. The two sides didn't match. The academy was 4 floors high, but the windows were spaced in such a way it was hard to tell where one floor ended and the next began. There was an internal courtyard that wasn't quite square, with a fountain that had frozen solid. Even the helipad jutting out of the roof was ugly and awkward, as if someone had thrown a giant frisbee that had smashed into the brickwork and lodged in place. Mrs. Stellenbosch flicked off the controls. "I will take you down to meet the director," she shouted over the noise of the blades. "Your luggage will be brought down later." It was cold on the roof, and although it was almost the end of April, the snow had covered the mountain, still hadn't melted, and everything was white for as far as the eye could see. The academy was built into the side of the steep slope. A little further down, Alex saw a big iron tongue that started at ground level but then curved outwards as the mountainside dropped away. It was a ski jump, the sort of thing he'd seen at the Winter Olympics. The end of the curve was at least 50 feet above the ground, and far below Alex could make out a flat area shaped like a horseshoe where the jumpers were meant to land. He was staring at it, imagining what it would be like to propel yourself into space with only 2 skis to break your fall, when the woman grabbed his arm. "We don't use it," she said. "It is forbidden. Come now, let's get out of the cold." They went through a door in the side of one of the towers and down a narrow spiral staircase, each step a different distance apart, that took them all the way down to the ground floor. Now they were in a long, narrow corridor with plenty of doors, but no windows. "Classrooms," Mrs. Stellenbosch explained. "You will see them later." Alex followed her through the strangely silent building. The central heating had been turned up high inside the academy. The atmosphere was warm and heavy. They stopped at a pair of modern glass doors that opened into the courtyard Alex had seen from above. From the heat back into the cold again, Mrs. Stellenbosch led him through the doors and past the frozen fountain. A movement caught his eye, and Alex glanced up. There was something he hadn't noticed before. A sentry stood at one of the towers. He had a pair of binoculars around his neck and a submachine gun slung across one arm. Armed guards? In a school? Alex had been here only a few minutes. Already he was unnerved. "Through here!" Mrs. Stellenbosch opened another door for him, and he found himself in the main reception hall of the academy. A log fire burned in the massive fireplace, with 2 stone dragons guarding the flames. A giant staircase led upstairs. The hall was lit by a chandelier with at least 100 bulbs. The walls were panelled with wood. The carpet was thick, dark red. A dozen pairs of eyes followed Alex as he followed Mrs. Stellenbosch down the next corridor. The hall was decorated with animal heads, a rhino, an antelope, a water buffalo, and saddest of all, a lion. Alex wondered who had shot them. They came to a single door that suggested they had come to the end of their journey. So far, Alex hadn't encountered any boys, but glancing out of the window, he saw 2 more guards marching slowly past, both of them cradling an automatic machine gun. So I hope you are listening carefully to that text. Remember, this is your task, to draw a detailed diagram and to write a brief description of Point Blanc skill. Good luck, Year 6. This video will now self-destruct.